Oh, and we're live. Hello, hello.
Hello, everyone.
Trying to access the chat. We have the studio chat and the live stream. I think we're ready to kick it off. Would you like to
Okay.
wait?
No?
Hi, everyone. I am so excited for this session. Ecosystem building. Your growth, why growth starts with your brand essence. And today we're going to go on a wild trip with Alexandra, who's going to share a beautiful process of hers to reconnect with brand essence. And I can't wait for you to just dive deep, bring in your questions, bring in your business, and share with us whatever comes up. So drop in the chat and let us know where you are tuning in from, your city, your country, your company, and one word to describe how you're feeling right now.
How are you feeling right now,
Yeah, I'm gonna
Soumeya?
share. I'm feeling a little bit perplexed. I can't find the chat. I know there's people joining, but I can't see where they are. I think they're on the live stream. They're with us as we're figuring out the tech stuff. But yeah, I'm excited for today. That's also another word. And I am in Algiers, Algeria, and I am the CEO of Next Evolution.
All right. I'm joining us from Los Angeles, California. It's a beautiful summer day. It's going to be so hot here. And I'm the Chief Brand Officer here at Next Evolution. And right now, my word is connected. It's going
Very
to be
nice.
it's going to be the theme of this presentation today.
Connection, huh?
Connection.
Connection. I like it. You can move along, I think. And if someone pops in the chat, I'll share.
Don't be shy, guys. Come join us in the chat. Soumeya can't see it, but I can see it.
I found it. I
Okay,
figured
okay,
it
you can
out.
see it now.
Yeah. I can see both from the studio chat and also on LinkedIn directly. So I have everything.
Awesome. Okay, I want you all to imagine this. Imagine that you have sales that are overflowing, and you have sales that are overflowing because your brand is so clear. Your message is precise and repeatable and potent across everything from your pitches to your LinkedIn posts to your partnerships. You're speaking with ease and people are feeling what you stand for. It doesn't even feel like you're selling. If selling isn't your thing, it's like you're just talking. And everybody at your organization is living your brand, even if you're just a team of one. And your brand isn't just some marketing deck, it's a living ecosystem. So your voice, your brand values, your brand vision are all embodied across everybody who's working for you, from your operations to your hiring to your customer support team. And you're just feeling like everything's a symphony. Even if you have a global team across continents and time zones and functions, all the communication is coherent. It's happiness and so much joy. And there is an internal and external alignment. Your internal alignment is causing this external magnetism. Your partners are amplifying your brand without you even asking, and customers are evangelizing your brand as well. So you're scaling your brand through an ecosystem. Growth is not forced. Instead, it feels organic. It feels fun. It's like you're co-creating with everyone. And most importantly, it's regenerative, meaning that everyone is better because of your brand and everyone is being renewed and enriched by what you're doing. Sounds pretty cool, huh, Soumeya?
It feels really nice. Like I feel like we've been with Next Evolution, we've been microdosing this effect. Like there were seasons where I really felt like the brand was in the flow.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had a taste of that. The first 8 months of business felt exactly like that. Like all the sales came from referrals and it was very organic. But whenever it had to get bigger, like bring in the connection at it, it feels so good. And I can't wait for you to show us how to get there.
So, what happened? What happened with that flow? What was going on when you had that first 8 months where everything was so beautiful? So if you look at this slide, it's spirals on spirals on spirals. No matter where you are in nature, there's this repeating fractal, this repeating pattern. So on the lower right-hand corner, this is us in our womb, a tiny little baby spiral. If you look at our ear, you also see this spiral shape as well. Even the Mona Lisa has this spiral shape. And this is nature's code. This is the Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio. It's everywhere. And once you see it or re-see it, you can't get your eyes off of it. And this spiral, this Fibonacci sequence is nature's growth template. It's not just math, it's actually the blueprint for scaling your brand and scaling your brand through harmony and coherence. So you can take anything in nature, sunflowers, elephant tusks, a whale jumping out of the ocean, and you see this Fibonacci sequence. And this is the key to how you can grow your business with what I was explaining in that last slide when I said, imagine this. And what we want to teach you today is that growth in this new era, generative growth for your business, begins with essence. So if you look at the spiral in the center, we believe it begins, that Fibonacci growth, that harmonious regenerative growth begins with essence first. And essence is that organizing frequency that gives your organization, your business, structure and direction. And when you build from essence, everything is going to align. And everything also aligns at scale. The product, your messaging, your partnerships, your community, your customers, and the impact that you would like to make. So regenerative business growth begins with essence, this little green dot right here that sets off the Fibonacci sequence of growth and scale for your organization.
I'd love to share something that's coming up before we jump into the facilitation piece, like nature's growth template, where there is the Fibonacci sequence and the harmony and the mathematics of it. What I see is life, like the spirit of life. You see essence through the structure. I think the other side of essence is also the flow, like the moving, the animating part, spirit, like the animating part of life that comes and that moves you, that moves the body, that moves the business, that moves like the creative force within the business, right? And I feel it because it begins with essence, both on the structural side and the substance side, like the spiritual almost side, the connected side. And this side for me is like on a very material level, it's the integration of cycles and seasons. It's the understanding that harmony only happens when we understand that there are growth seasons and composting seasons. There are falling and release season and destruction seasons to say goodbye to what is ending, to be able to make space for the new furniture. Like you cannot put new furniture on old furniture, right? You need to let the old furniture go so that you bring in the new one. So understanding seasons and cycles is the core of regeneration in my understanding. And that's what essence connects us to. Like when you are connected to essence, you are connected to life, you are connected to cycles. That's all I wanted to add. And also, before we move forward, we have an answer from Ali from Regenintel. So I'm preparing coffee at the same time, they're saying. And I'm joining from Nicaragua, and what's living with me right now is discovering the threads of connection between people, projects, and ideas. One way this is unfolding is through my work with Regenintel. I know I actually received their newsletter, and I love their work. I'm really happy you're here, Al.
And all the way from Nicaragua.
So cool.
I love it.
Yeah, back to you, Alexandra.
So one thing that you say so well, Soumeya, that I just want to share is that you often tell our clients that regenerative growth can only happen if you're composting you're composting the old season, because you cannot grow all the time. Just like a cherry tree does not grow all the time and bear fruit. There's these seasons and cycles of composting, or AKA a death, if you will, process. Do you want to speak on that really fast on how essence allows us to not grow without burnout? I mean, grow without being burnt out.
Well, I think we're growing all the time. And I think death is actually part of growth. But life is always growing. Like it's always pushing us to be bigger. You know, it's like growth is like nature is constantly growing and expanding and also contracting. There's this movement as we expand and we contract. And like the breath, it's like we inhale and exhale, where there's the dynamic of we welcome life and we release the past, basically, so that we are in the present. There's always this this wheel, you know. It's for many indigenous communities, just a medicine wheel where you have life and death always coexisting. And so growth is always happening. And there's this thing in the regenerative community that it's almost became taboo to talk about growth. It's like, oh, growth equals burnout. I don't think so. I think growth is inherent to nature. But the missing piece is the harvesting. Like people want to be harvesting all the time. And constant harvest is actually extraction. So what we need to have is like this cycle the harvest season so that growth happens in a way that the land and the earth is actually regenerated and not depleted and extracted from and emptied from its resources. Because as you let the seasons happen and we compost, we keep enriching the soil. So each season is actually richer than the previous one. And so growth and expansion are not only constant, but are also exponential. And that's also one of the codes and the keys of the Fibonacci sequence, right? It's also exponential. And in capitalism, when we think of this extractive economy, we are really afraid of the words of exponential and growth because we feel like it's synonym with extraction, and I don't believe so. I really stand for healthy regenerative growth and exponential expansion in a very regenerative way because that's how nature works.
Absolutely. So we keep saying this word essence, but what the heck does it mean? And how do you know your brand's essence so that you can receive that Fibonacci-like growth?
So question for you. When we have a comment, we're going to come to in a very soon. So what is your favorite place in nature? What is your favorite place in nature? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? And what does it look like? Can you connect to that? Go back to your favorite place in nature. Describe how it feels like, how it looks like, how it sounds like.
And please drop in the chat. We'd love to hear what is your favorite place in nature and how it makes
what
you
is
feel.
yours? What is yours, Alex?
My favorite place in nature is the Pacific Ocean, living in Southern California my whole life. A childhood beach that I always go to and where I spent my summers with my family. And the beach makes me feel so empowered, so clear, so refreshed, and ultimately empowered. Like anything that's going on in my life, I can overcome it. And I go to that place in nature, this beach, when I'm sad, when I'm joyful, when I need to just come back to myself. So a very, very special place for me is the Pacific Ocean. What about you?
I love that. I think I have two favorite places in nature depending on the season. I am a child of the sea. I grew up at the Mediterranean Sea. I love the ocean and I love the sea. It just gives me life. I need to see it. I miss it when I live in a space where we can see the ocean or the sea. But I am also the daughter of the desert, and like the places where I feel most connected is actually the desert. I love the silence. I love how much life there is in the desert, but we can't see it in an obvious way. I love how close the sky is. It's the place where I feel most connected, and I feel there is so little pollution in the desert, especially in the Algerian desert. And you're deep, like light pollution, everything, that something feels very pure. Like there is no pollution, like no interference. My thoughts are clear. Everything is so clear.
So if you distilled it into one word, what does it feel like?
Connection. Yeah, I mean, the idea of next evolution, it was born in the desert. It's it actually
Wait, we're
the
gonna get to
Jordanian
it.
desert.
We're gonna get to it.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Yeah,
get
yeah.
to it, guys. We're gonna get to how the cheat codes of this question, this facilitation question.
Yeah. Ali, we'll come back to your question later on. I think it's a powerful question.
I think I know her favorite place in nature.
Oh, I'd love to know it when you have time, if you can share, if you're not making coffee.
I think it's in her backyard in Nicaragua.
Is it her? I say they, but I don't know.
Yes, I got it right. Thank you.
Yes. So you're she.
All right. So, building from essence, we're going to go into a quick case study, and then we're going to give you an exercise that helps you identify what your brand essence is. And this is going to be fun. We're going to make it as fun as possible, right, Soumeya? No boring lecture is our marketing pitch. So here we go. So just so everyone's on the same page, the way that we define essence comes from nature. So each living system, you're a living system, cherry tree's a living system, the favorite place in nature is a living system. It's just a fancy word for saying nature. So each living system, wherever it is in nature or your business right now today, has a distinct expression shaped by the time, the place, and context, its own unique essence. The reason why we had that facilitation question is a lot of times essence can just be felt, right? It's really hard to articulate it unless you're physically there, unless you're feeling. And one of the cool things about being a human is we're here to feel. So essence is this core energy of your brand. You could even say it's your life force. And I asked Soumeya to distill it down into 1 or 2 words. And she said connection. So when you go back to your favorite place in nature, you can go back to these key words of how it makes you feel. And that's the essence of that place, right? For you. And essence is so important because when you start to build your brand from essence, there is a level of coherence. You stop wasting energy on confusion because everybody knows what it feels like when something's on brand. There's magnetism. Customers can feel the brand. This is what our favorite billion-dollar brands do out there. Volvo equals safety. Nike equals winning. Harley-Davidson, the American motorcycle brand, what they are selling is not a motorcycle. They're selling this feeling, this essence, brand essence of freedom. You hop on that motorcycle and you feel so free, and that's reflected in everything that they're doing, that core essence. And when you build from essence, there's that scalability factor. Every partner in your ecosystem, every new offer, every new product is just a node in the expansion of that living system.
I love it. I felt really connected as you were speaking. I think the key word and the key process here is to move from the mind as the modelizer through the feeling as the origin point of what essence is. Like essence as a felt experience and not as a mind rational experience, and just using the mind as a translator of what essence is and not the other way around, because otherwise it feels like a prison and it feels like a chokehold on what essence is, and it's an interference with the expression of that. And we are experiencing it in Next Evolution, and we've been since day one, because when we started Next Evolution 4 years ago, 4 and a few months ago, what brought me to ecosystem building and the conversations we were having with the initial team, and as we grew, and also we went through cycles of hardship and huge expansion, because we were still in the learning phase of what the essence of Next was asking from us. And there is a very different relationship from the business. And for me, whenever I tried to rush, force, scale, grow at a pace that wasn't the pace that was required, but that it was a pace that my mind thought, oh, now it's time, we need to get strategic, I blocked. It was like a chokehold on it. So what I wanted to convey today as Next Evolution as a use case or a case study, it's like a pattern, and it's not a firm. It's like, it's not firm because there's something very firm about, like, this is a consulting firm and we know how it looks like and we know where we're going and we know what we deliver and we have processes and yes, we do have all of that. I have the processes. I've been working on ecosystem building for 9 years. I worked on regular ecosystem building and regenerative ecosystem buildings and sustainable ecosystems and inclusive ecosystems. And then I included decolonizing the ecosystems and embodiment ecosystems and blah, blah, blah. Like, we have through all versions because it's a living system that allows us to do that. And the ecosystem of Next was very ever-changing, but very organic constantly. And whenever I tried to automate and scale it to the next level, something almost broke, because there is, when you base like the identity, where you feel the identity of your business is connection or is essence or is truth, something very powerful is required in the level of connection with the business and with the essence of the business. So we didn't set out to be the typical agency, and we knew that from day one because the core was Emergence. We followed the work. So clients were coming organically through referrals. When a business, an organization, or even a human being as a personal brand, when you exist in your authentic voice, in your own essence, something magical happens because you draw to you people from that living space. Because if you wear a mask, it's frozen. So you're going to start attracting business and work and people who are still stuck to the image of something very dead of yourself, like something that is past, that it does not exist anymore. So the weird thing, as I'm noticing, just the adventure we had, is like the clientele kept changing as we were changing as humans, and as the essence of next evolution was being expressed differently. Because for me it's the same essence, but the translation and the dialogue and the way we relate to the organization has evolved. So it started as in African tech ecosystems, and we had a case study 2 weeks ago where we shared our biggest and largest and most important contract since we started, like building tech ecosystems. And then we brought inclusion, and then we moved into executive coaching and embodied coaching, and also bringing energetics in this executive coaching. And then JEDI, or DEI, so justice work and DEI work. And it was I think it was the hardest phase, but it came very organically. It was the hardest phase because something also felt stuck as we were trying to implement this inclusion, where it's almost kept life from moving, and it didn't go towards the direction of essence. Then we started connecting to regeneration and regenerative systems and trying to embody it as the identity of next. And something felt off about that too, because I feel like regeneration is a path and a practice we embrace, but we are not a regenerative business 100%. Nobody's perfect in that, because we live in an extractive mechanistic system. So of course we replicate also the systems that are existing, and something, when it doesn't sound true, I can't say it because I feel almost like I'm betraying or trying to mask like the identity of the business. And whenever I do that, it translates in different things. It translates in the relationships within the team. Like it gets like there is friction because communication is difficult. It translates with difficulties also in communicating with the clients. It's like we're not understanding each other anymore because we're trying to freeze something in time, and life is always moving. And so it didn't happen in a straight line, and it always unfolded, but it requires a level of practice almost to be in connection and support and work on it to keep that level of living system and growth without freezing it in a mask, in a branding mask. Like it's not a static identity. It's a way of working. It's a way of being. It's a way of relating to each other. It's bringing reciprocity as a practice. It's relating to the land and to others and to Africa and to the world differently. Owning, because we work with AI and tech and everything, but owning like the ethical, extractive parts of self, but also the regenerative parts, and knowing that we are always in between an old system that is falling apart that we are still participating in, and a new system that is emerging, and we embody the transition between both. So we are going to be back and forth. So it is a geometry that keeps repeating, adapting to scale, place, and need. It just changes all the time. So the spiral and the Fibonacci sequence, there is nothing more powerful, because whenever we bring it, it's like brings us back to truth and bring back the harmony so that we find our voice again, even when we get cluttered and stuck in old systems. So each part we went through, like whether it's a Jedi or executive coaching, contains the whole business. Every time it was still next evolution, or the essence being expressed. And there are times where we go through synthesis of everything we went through, and we have a new offering when we evolve the offering. So it is a pattern of becoming that is a direct reflection of our becoming also as individuals. Me as CEO, you as CBO, but the team and the clients, and we are all becoming. It's like a whole ecosystem where we interact with it, we grow, and we change together, and we evolve towards a certain thing, because we are creating a movement together. And when I say movement, it's like in the most embodied way. It's not like movement with many people, but just like the most internal way that reflects on the outside. So it is a way of expanding. And the first identity of next evolution, it is connection, because we build networks, we build ecosystems, we build relationships, we reconnect to self through embodiment. Like connection is the core of what we do, but the initial intention behind next evolution was actually expansion through connection. We expand through connection. So expanding without losing ourselves, and expanding the business without losing the core of the business. And whenever we mistake and try to wear a mask for the next level, we almost fall back until we realign, and then we expand. So we build through connection, and the more we connect, the more we expand, etc., etc. And it's ever growing.
Yeah, and we see that all the time with our clients, all the time.
So what we're sitting with right now, and I really wanted also to be completely authentic in the share, like not, it's not because we're sharing brand essence and we are teaching it and bringing it to our client that we are not facing the challenges that come with owning like a living brand or a brand essence. So we're not looking for neat answers, and we're staying with the right questions. So the question is, how do we keep coherence while we grow? Because we want to grow and we are ready for a next level. We are ready to embody like a huge next level, because I really think this kind of work needs to be resourced on a very high level and not trying to be small. Coming from a background of both social justice and DEI and all of these things, I feel all the places where we try to think to keep things small and businesses small to appear ethical or sustainable, but it's not the way. We need to be fully resourced and regenerated. We need to have teams that are fully paid and well paid. We need to have the material. We need to be well resourced, and for that to happen, we need to keep the coherence, but still reclaim the growth we want, as not contradictory to the ethics that we are embodying. But the growth as a supportive resourcing system for the ecosystems we are growing. How do we make space for emergence and clarity? Because emergence is, I mean, whenever we block emergence and we try to be rigid in the mind, I stop functioning and the business stops. And like you saw it, we saw it. Like there is something, energy doesn't circulate when we don't have emergence. Whenever there is a blockage somewhere, whenever I feel and we feel that the flux is interrupted, the influx of clients and income, or the communication within the team, it's always a moment where we are dissociating from what's present within our relational landscape within the business, which means the emergence and how life is expressing itself, oftentimes in a way that we are not really ready to poke at. So how do we stay close to justice and decoloniality while working in corporate and institutional spaces? And I'm using these words because I know they ping. I'm always, okay, let's go corporate and institutional, and I release the rest, and then justice and decoloniality. But it's not just that. It's more about like for me, regeneration is inherently decolonial, because as we regenerate, as we regenerate the land, we remove extraction is colonization, or colonization is extraction. So how do we let regeneration be a principle? It's a principle we move with, and it's a practice. It's not just a service we sell. It's a practice. It's a principle. It's something that we embody, and it's something that we do not embody 100% yet, and we're still in the growth and expansion of it. And actually, the more we regenerate, the more we expand. And what we're doing about it is we are letting our brand show up as a living system, not a polished identity. And we are moving from that and building offers from that while holding a structure, because we need the structure. We need the structure if we want a team to grow. We need the structure of the brand if we want the clients to grow. We need the systems. But how do you keep the structure and the system that supports the safety within the organization to build trust? That's the question that we are facing also today. How do you have the structure that builds trust and safety within the team, within the organization, within the relationships with the client, and at the same time stay in life and keep the emergence and hold the emergence? Because the safer you are and the most powerful your structure are, the bigger is the emergence, and the bigger we can hold also as a business in terms of capacity of how many businesses, how many contracts and projects at the same time, how many team members, and so on and so forth. So holding depth across all parts of the practice, like bringing the depth of the connection. And we saw our friends on in the regenerative landscape, they're talking about embodiment, they're talking about decolonial stuff, they're talking about somatics, they're talking about all of this. But I also want to bring in the question that, okay, we can bring all this depth, but not lose sight that we want to people, entrepreneurs, businesses, organizations that are purpose driven to thrive. And for that to thrive, they need to be resourced. And we cannot lose sight of the resourcing of that, which is also the money conversation and the financial conversation and the growth conversation, the growth as a business strategy as well. So naming patterns we already live by instead of forcing strategy. We have a strategy, but how can we not force it? And whenever we try to force it, as I mentioned, we stop the flow. And for me, the last one and the most powerful one, because that's where coloniality lives, is removing urgency. Because whenever we try to be urgent and push too much, something happens and it blocks the movement as well. Does that sound familiar, Alex?
That sounds very familiar. Yeah, so this time around for this webinar, we wanted to really be transparent and vulnerable and use ourselves as the use case. And we're seeing this reoccurring patterns in our clients. And I think what you are explaining for me, there's a big difference between power and control. Control, when we try to control and hit our metrics and we want to hit our goals, we go back into scarcity. We think there's never enough. How are we going to make it? How are we going to do this? How do we stay regenerative in a global earth who's not working within these principles and who's just doing growth as usual, the usual playbooks for how to build a CPG company, how to build a tech and AI company. And so it's difficult. And when we go back to our power, we go back to the essence of our brand, there's certainty. It allows us to move through the chaos. It allows us to take a deep breath when we get into these moments where we're feeling like everything's disconnected or we're feeling like we're not going to make it. Yes, forcing strategy part and the emergency culture is where we do not innovate. That's exactly what we're trying to articulate to all of you today.
And that's the question that all our clients are facing.
Mm-hmm.
All of them. Like, it's not like I don't know anyone who completely figured it out yet, but I love that we have the luxury and the privilege of having this question. How
Mm-hmm.
can we really truly remove urgency? Because we know that there's where extraction lives. And 99% of the time, it's an illusion. It's a full illusion. And all these fears are actually conditioning. And that's where extraction and mechanistic system live. They live in us believing that there is urgency and us rushing through things. But nature never rushes. It never rushes.
Yeah. So hopefully what you got from us today is we're far from perfect. We struggle with the same things that all of our clients are struggling with. And we're all in this together, truly.
Oh, one more. And
One
that's the
more.
brand essence. One more. The brand vision, brand essence. Next Evolutions, we've been mentioning because Alex have been walking us through the brand essence process again through Next Evolution because we are in a big transition phase. And the conversation was like, oh, it's a regeneration, or oh, no, it's expansion and growth because that was the initial thing, or oh, it's ecology. But we come back to this essence of connection. It was built initially to build ecosystems or networks and connecting people and strategic partnerships and also connecting people, players, organizations that are not sitting around the same tables yet, and us being the intermediary of these people. We connected like ministries in countries like Gabon or Algeria with VC firms in South Africa and in San Francisco. Or how do you bring these people that would have not met in the same circumstances? That's how we become catalysts, right? We engage our ecosystem in conversation that would have never happened if we weren't there. So the essence of Next Evolution is connection. We connect and we interconnect the players in ecosystem. And when we do that, there is cross-pollination. What we mean by cross-pollination is the exchange of value. That's why connection is important. Whenever you connect, it's actually two universes coming together or several. You connect, the act of connection is actually bringing two worlds together and creating a third one. So yeah, that's the essence of Next Evolution. It feels really good to just bring this back and connecting Next to its essence.
And for all of you, what we do is we connect that one to whatever it is, that core feeling of your brand, that essence. And I challenge you to connect it to your vision. So the why of why you have your business, your organization, what you guys are doing. So when we at Next Evolution connect connection to our vision of reconnecting and regenerating Africa and letting Africa lead the way, everything becomes so much more coherent and harmonious, and we're able to get out of our linear minds the control, the scarcity, and take it back to what we are doing. And this is how we finish our work and how we flow and how we trust. And I think it's super important, Soumeya, for you to explain what happens when Africa is connected. Tell us more about the vision.
Yeah,
tell us more about the vision.
Yeah, the vision, Next vision. So now we're working globally and our clients are all over the world. So I tend to forget, but next evolution is and was born in Africa for Africa, building ecosystems in Africa. And what I was seeing as what did it mean really to build tech ecosystems in Africa? It was actually building the infrastructure of connection for money to flow to communities and places where it wasn't. That's what we meant. As you connect these players, like the grassroots community, supporting entrepreneurs on the ground and innovators and co-working spaces, like the communities on the ground, and big capital in Africa, but mainly in Europe and the US and the Middle East, something magical happened, but the infrastructure actually didn't exist. And through connection and through ecosystems and through networks, what we did is create the infrastructure for money to land, because what we feel is there is so much money being thrown to in Africa in many ways, but without it circulating in the right spaces, because the connections are actually very superficial. That's what I meant. So when I mean connecting Africa as the first, for me, it's the connection to the land and connection to the people and remembering something that Africa hasn't completely forgot yet, and that was completely forgotten in the West. It's the
The
fact
tribe.
that we need the fact that we need each other. We can use the word tribe, but I know many Africans are not comfortable with this word. But for me, it is the tribe. I love the fact that I have a tribe in Algeria and I have a tribe in the southern part of the country in the desert, and I am held by a web, like an intergenerational web of people. So I'm gonna, for me, it's the tribe, but it's not the tribe for everybody, but it's the network of humans that hold you, where we still got each other and we still see humanity in each other, where I am because you are, and the whole Ubuntu philosophy and how we relate to each other. And we still remember this here. I'm saying here, I'm still in Algeria. And the next evolution actually brought me back to Africa and the Middle East. And I don't want to use the Middle East, but I spent so much time, months and months, in Jordan, in Egypt. I spent time in Ethiopia, in South Africa, in Tanzania. And whenever I spend like months in any African country, whether it's Algeria, Tunisia, or something so deep happens in first the connection to the land. We love this land and we feel there is so much like the Pan-Africanism. We feel from that we are from this whole continent, but also the way we relate to each other. And there is fragmentation because I'm Northern African and we go to the part that is in the southern, under the Sahara, like sub-Saharan Africa. There are tensions and there is racism and there are other issues that are fragmenting the continent, but still I see you and I am because you are. Whenever I remember I am African, I know that regeneration happened in connection to the other, in connection to the land. And that's what we are doing. So it's way deeper than just bringing VC in Africa in a way that is extractive and colonial. It's something else. It's like we connect to each other and we remember who we are and we connect to this land. And what we do as we are building the ecosystems, we are bringing our ways of being and doing as the new blueprint the world is actually going to work with, like the new blueprint for the world to work. We are not here to copy Silicon Valley for tech or to do what's happening in Europe, in the US, because it failed. People are lonely, are more disconnected than ever. The poverty is going up and up. So there is another way. And the other way is, okay, what would it look like to bring modernity through a different blueprint? And this blueprint is very ancient, and we still remember how it's done here. And I feel like this should actually be the blueprint for the world too, that actually it is being remembered and brought into the world from Africa. And when you see what's happening in business, like the whole attention that is coming to Africa in fashion, in gaming, like there is huge movement of innovation and creativity happening today in Africa. And I feel like the whole world is wanting to be inspired, but they don't know how to do it without extracting. And we need to stand and tell these stories so that our stories are not stolen yet again from us. And these stories are being told. They're stories from power, and they're also through the expression of our essence. And that's where we bring it back home to brand essence, as also a way of bringing these new ways, embodying them and bringing them to the world and telling these African stories and becoming platforms for these African stories to be told through the African gaze.
Absolutely. Essence to vision, vision back to essence. This is the secret that we want to impart on you today. And I'm going to go over this like really quickly for everybody. For anybody, you know, I'm more of a linear mind. I'm still stuck in the old ways. Regenerative thinking is difficult for us based on how we learned and how, you know, we've all been in corporate environments. And so we just wanted to peel back the curtain of how we do this, how we connect the essence to the vision and what this looks like in terms of building blocks and phases. So again, we think that always the magic, wherever you would like to take your brand in terms of growth, your organization, your business, begin with that essence first. It's the foundational resonance. This is how you begin to build that flywheel of organic, exponential momentum. We've been saying like a lot of our issues with the regenerative spaces or the sustainability spaces is they don't really honor growth. Growth is good. Nature's in a constant state of growth. It's just a new lens of growth. So once you have your essence, we move into really that story, the architecture, what Soumeya just explained, that vision, connecting the essence to the vision. And now the so what? What's your value proposition? You know, what value are you giving to your partners? What's the exchange here? This is the business part, right? Like there has to be a very clear value exchange. And then typically when we work with our clients or we get unstuck of whatever we're dealing with at our own consulting firm, we go then into phase 4, which is the ecosystem and distribution. So how can we take our essence, our vision, our value prop, and now begin to find customers, evangelists, partnerships? And we also all tie these with growth leaps, right? We look at it in terms of a Fibonacci parallel. So layers on layers on layers spiraling up. And our next phase is typically the network expansion, how we build the self-reinforcing loops where growth becomes fun and more in flow. Is there anything else that you wanted to add, Soumeya, to this?
Of this process.
Well, we came up with
love
this.
it. Yeah, no, I love it. I want to say that it works and it's powerful and you should try it. And if you're curious, just book a discovery call with us and we'll let you know because this is very powerful work. It's powerful work because it seems very simple. We laid out with your processes and next evolution processes. And this is years of work simplified in a way that you go through something where your brand and yourself and your voice and where you're going and your story becomes so clear. And the people that are aligned with your mission become clear and where you're going and you're expanding is clear. So I'm not very good at selling at all, but this feels so good to sell. I know it works. I love this process. And if you feel like your business needs this, just come and talk to us because it's amazing.
Absolutely. So we want to make sure that you have a core takeaway for today and that you have clarity. So our question, and we want you to grab a piece of paper or, you know, just go with us for a couple minutes in a space of relaxation and start to think about what is your brand essence if you weren't already. So I know that we're getting close to time, and ideally we like to have a little bit more of a spacious environment as we facilitate and work with you and ask you this question. So I invite you to do it for this micro version of our webinar today. So take a pen and paper or close your eyes, even if you're at the coffee shop or at your co-working. I invite you to close your eyes and go back to your favorite place in nature. Once you are in your favorite place in nature, if you are a solopreneur, I want you to ask, why did you start your brand? And if you're currently at an organization, I want to know what attracted you to your current organization. And think about the vision or the impact you want to make. If today already has been tough, if yesterday was tough, or if you're in a summary mode and things are easy, no matter what you're going through, ask yourself, what is that core energy that's moving you forward to your vision? And that core energy reveals the essence, your essence or your brand's essence, or maybe you already know your organization's essence. And if you're like, Alexandra, that was way too fast, I was way too corporate. I was in a coffee shop. I just got 10 Slack messages. I couldn't figure out what the essence is. I would say go back to your favorite place in nature. Remind yourself of how that makes you feel. For me, at the Pacific Ocean, I feel empowered. That's my own personal brand essence. And so the cheat codes are always in nature for us. And it's always right in front of us. And connect your essence to your brand's vision. And we promise magic will happen and that Fibonacci sequence of growth will start to occur. So we have some remaining time. Last time we moved into strategy work and we got off the live. We would love to do that again with any of you. But please drop in the chat what came up about your essence, your business. Did that exercise or anything that we shared today resonate for you and help you?
Yeah, there's something I'd like to share. A lot of businesses, and we see this in our clients and also the partners and people we work with, we spend so much time and energy working on things that are the symptoms of disconnection from essence, trying to repair things where actually if we unlock the connection to essence, we just remember that everything unfolds as a byproduct of that reconnect. So when you say magic happens, it does happen. Like you reconnect and your thing unfolds. And yeah, it's powerful work.
Magic happens and then we go back to control. How am
Yeah,
I
and
going
it's
to
back and forth.
recreate it? How am I going to recreate it and do even better? And so go back to power, go back to certainty, go back to essence, connected to vision.
Exactly. Since there's nothing in the chat, I'd like to. How do you feel, Alex, about answering the question asked earlier in the chat? Oh, there's a new message.
Ooh, go ahead and read that, Soumeya.
This is definitely enriching and helpful. I had the vision of us being in a boat and navigating through the waters. It feels like even in uncharted waters, we were still navigating, flowing, and still having our compass guiding us. This is all to say our essence is the boat that held us through uncharted waters, changes, transformation, etc. Oh my.
I got tingly.
Oh, so good. Oh, thank you for sharing that. So powerful. Yeah, it's like navigating uncertainty. Is navigation as your essence, you think? Oh, no, the compass, the boat.
Yeah, what
The
would
boat
be
is essence. It's like the vehicle for
mm,
navigation. I love that. And then the word would be how it made you feel. That's how you do it, Alex, right?
yep. How does boating make you feel, or what is the feeling of being a boat
Yeah,
out
it's
on
like
the water?
Alex feels empowered in the Pacific Ocean. I feel connected in the desert. How do you feel when you're in the boat?
Flow. Okay, I like it.
Oh yeah, very good. So the essence is boat and flow. Is that it? How would you frame it, Alex?
Exactly. And then I would say connect flow to the vision. And so anytime that you are in too much structure in terms of control, a controlling structure, or scarcity, or planning things out too much, you're not in flow. And so therefore, you're not in integrity to your brand vision or your brand essence. And you won't be able to manifest, if you will, your brand vision with ease.
Yeah.
So as long as the essence is flow connected to the brand vision, that magic is going to happen. Um, it's really simple. It's so simple. It's not easy. It's one of those things.
It depends. It depends for whom. But something came up also. Oh, felt like flow, ebb and flow. Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I lost it. I had something in mind, but it's fine. I love what we're sharing. It's very inspiring.
And the last quote that I wanted to leave us today is something that has been on my computer for probably the last 15 years and really helped me articulate how to teach essence to organizations and our clients. And this is something that's attributed to Albert Einstein. And I know that we always talk about that things are coming down to energy, right? Everything's about energy these days, especially as we move into a new world where AI can handle everything for us. And so, what is the role of humans? What is the role of brands? Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality that you want, and you can't help but get that reality. essence to vision. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics. This is the Fibonacci golden harmony sequence of how nature grows.
And then the other part, I wanted to ask the question of the health of the ecosystem, and how we assess the health of the ecosystem is to see if the conditions for the essence to come through, the feeling of essence to be felt within the organization, is are these conditions reunited today, and how can you make it even better within your organization? Do you have the conditions, the right conditions for flow? What is supporting flow in the business, and what is impeding flow in the organization? And I love this because I think it's very powerful, just reflecting on that. And the second level is the improvement. What needs to be composted and let go of, and what needs to be amplified. And sometimes there is way more power in letting go than bringing something new.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're coming up on time. We want to connect with you. Oh, go ahead, Soumeya.
I want just to answer the question of I'm curious how more businesses might begin embracing elements that embrace more composting, necessary cycles of reflection and letting go, when so many are expected to constantly bloom and harvest growth within a capitalist system. Here it is, so you can see it. For me, the biggest skill we all need in all our businesses is seasons of composting and anchoring or bringing in a practice of wintering. We call that in Regenerators Academy. It's like, well, and it's just wintering. We come into May wintering, and the first phase of the business of wintering is the composting. Well, first it's the fall. Connecting to the fall is the letting go. What are we letting go of? What is done? What are we saying goodbye to? And that's going back to the conditions of essence. It's like, are they reunited? What do we need to let go of? What are we saying goodbye to? And then we compose that, which means we see in our actions what it needs to be removed. And oftentimes we need a few weeks to do that. So you can do it during winter if everybody in the same season, or you create your own winter season within the organization if you are remote and you are spread all over the world and you have people in the southern hemisphere or in the opposite hemisphere of yours. So for me, that's the thing, like determining what needs to be let go of is powerful, and anchoring it as a practice, either through the regular seasons or create your own seasons within the organization, specifically to define what has to be let go of and what has to be composted. And then we bring in the new seeds of the new phase or the new chapter we are writing, so that death and life happen simultaneously, because when we hold both death and life in the same moment, growth never stops, actually. Because there's always growth, we're just not harvesting, because when you bring a new seed during winter, it's actually gonna bloom during spring and et cetera, et cetera. So that's how I would say, it's like bringing in the practice and the skill of not only stillness, but also letting go, and also composting and letting the composting serve as nourishment for the new seeds. I feel complete. How do you feel?
No comments. That's
Thank
what
you
I
so
would
much
say.
for being with us from Nicaragua. It was I had a blast having you, Ale. I hope I'm saying your name right. It's really cool to have you in the room. Alex, so good. I love everything you shared today.
And we just want to leave you with we're here to connect. This is our essence. And we would love to help you get to the next stage of your growth. And we will stay on for questions and any live strategy work. And we will go ahead and stop the recording. We are so grateful that you were with us today, and we look forward to speaking with you soon. All right, I'm stopping the recording, and it